Hi there, it's Jackie Hill again with another tip for you today about how you can stop smoking for life. I hope you're enjoying these videos. Today's tip is really about language. And what I've found when I've worked with people is, and it's not just relevant to smoking, but people will say what they really mean. And in other words, the language that we use gives us clues as to what we really believe. And I'm just thinking about the example, and it's a classic example when it comes to stopping smoking, that people will say quite often, I'm giving up smoking, or I gave up smoking. And usually when we use the words I've given up or I gave up, we mean it in a sacrificial way. It's almost as though it was taken from us, or we reluctantly gave it up. Where in actual fact, if you have stopped smoking, the reality of it is that you've given up illness and death, really, or you've given up high risk illnesses caused through smoking. They're the things that you've given up. You haven't given up the cigarettes. You've given up this idea of ill health that is caused from the cigarettes. So it's about thinking about, what do you say to someone, then how should you reframe what you're saying so that you can get the belief in to your mind that it's not sacrificial, that you haven't deprived yourself of smoking. By saying that you've given up, it almost feels that there's a sense of that you've deprived yourself, that there's a sacrifice there. So how can you reframe that when you talk to someone? Well, the classic thing would be to say is, well, I've kicked that habit. Instead of giving up, oh, I gave up smoking. Oh, I kicked smoking in the face, or I stopped doing that. I quit. It's much better than giving up. The words giving up, because what you're saying there is you're affirming that you no longer do the habit, and you're not inferring that you are there's some kind of regret there, that there's a feeling of still being deprived of something that you enjoyed. So think about language. And the other thing, of course, is with regard to language, is to be prepared for when you talk to other people, particularly if they're offering you a cigarette. What do you say when someone gives you a cigarette? Think about your words. Think about what you're going to say. Now, some people would think that calling themselves an ex-smoker is okay, and maybe it is. You've got to find this for yourself. But again, if someone, you don't get people that have never smoked in their lives go around saying, I'm a non-smoker. They don't do that with it. Just say, I don't smoke. And so it's about, again, not referring back to the habit that you had as being some form of identity. Your identity is not in your smoking or not smoking. Your identity is in who you are. So you wouldn't classify yourself as an ex-smoker or a non-smoker or a smoker. You're just a person who doesn't smoke, or a person that smokes. And so that's getting away from the identity of who you are from the habit, so it separates it clearly into your mind. So that's something to think about, and to think about what you're going to say, and think about the language that you're using. Think about, rehearse situations of what you're going to say to people. So if someone does offer you a cigarette, you can say, no thank you, I don't smoke. Or no thank you, I've quit that habit. Just get those phrases in your mind so that you can be prepared for when people ask you, do you smoke, or if they offer you a cigarette. So I hope that's been helpful. I'll catch you again on the next video. I hope you're enjoying these, and take care for now.